According to I'm a really old senior, but we're talking about seniors 70, 75. People that would have, a special reduced rate, $4 a month, something like that. People that live on the lake should maybe pay a little extra for dues because they have a little extra being on the lake. The stickers, both stickers. First one free, then the second one you pay a nominal fee. Third one you pay a nominal fee. That way at least, get something. Are people actually utilizing our parks right now? I mean, is it just a few people that are using them, or do we have lots of people using them? And the idea of having individual park meetings is fantastic, especially if we have an open bar. Okay, we also...
that's a good idea, by the way. I just wanted to point out...
Bring your own adult bucket.
And then board meetings. My husband and I kind of saunter in and out of board meetings every once in a while. And it's like, I love the pictures that are being taken, but you end up with like 2 people on this side, 2 people on that side, and it's like 4 people at the meeting, and it's like, this isn't any fun. These 5 people are up there talking to one chair. It's like, forget it. Why not have some of the board meetings at people's houses? Turn it into a community event. Turn it into bring a hot dish, or bring a can of Coke or something. Make it a party type situation. But people actually come to instead of, oh, I got to go to work. Make it fun. Why not? Maybe have door prizes, potluck type things like that. The other thing we touched on real fast was limiting our motors. Because we were discussing the fact that right now we're limited by voltage, right? Well, we were discussing the fact that they're coming up with things like jet skis with little voltage and big power. So maybe it should be horsepower or speed. It should be written into the...
12 volts instead of 36.
Whatever. Yes, thank you. Something like that. We'll actually bring it down. We talked about picnics. Oh, and the expansion on Washington. We've got people that are discussing, well, how is it going to happen, where it's going to happen, are they going to have, how many feet are they taking, what are they taking, is there something someplace they can go to, or are we going to have something that we'll discuss with these groups of homes that are on Washington? Are they going to lose trees? What do they do? How do they do it? Da, da, da. Okay. Basically, that would be involved.
Whenever they had, I think it was at Prairie View School, they had that informational meeting, and so if we could get somebody who might volunteer to be that official advocate, or perhaps a few people who might be those official if one person couldn't make it.
Have been doing that.
So as the official advocates for the lake, do we need a title for that? Do you need to get some special recognition for that?
Action committee.
Okay.
And that has been meeting, and then once they did that, they got it out to the public meetings at the school.
Because I know that we have done a good job of putting, when they have a meeting, onto the website, and then we've had a couple email blasts about it.
In the CAG meetings, the community groups.
Okay.
Hank, Kathy, and me, and somebody else, I think, on the lake appeared at. That was not open to the public because it was like in the planning stages, and then when it was ready to show to the public, there was 2 or 3 hearings, and I would say the people from Washington Street got over there.
All right, so that one's done.
Thanks, Larry.
Obviously, people who aren't members, who don't live in the community, accessing the lake, and Betty O'Brien, she wondered if there wasn't in the distant past perhaps a policy of name tags or something like that, and that was just perhaps readdressed. And she asked about, and it's on the list, about securing the entrances to the parks, especially after 10 p.m., like they do downtown Chicago. Like if you're going to go to Burnham Harbor or something like that, they've got those little keypads. Maybe not something quite so extensive, but just so that residents have access, non-residents do not have access. It's clearly trespassing, that kind of stuff. And then related to the concern over trespassing, we revisited the idea of enforcement of the rules. So we've got the rules. We have the rules. How do we enforce them? And there was the recommendation perhaps that we have a process, an official process of not actually, but just for example, step 1, a face-to-face discussion. Step 2, a phone call is made. Step 3, a letter. Step 4, I don't know. Step 5, I don't know. So that we do not get into the invocation of the legal action until the absolute last step. That we've gone through all of this process and that it's been documented officially, that on this date,
Have that conversation go on. And so, and I also mentioned, we've talked about how we're going to disseminate some of the information. And what we want to do is come up with like a list of, and we don't know how long the list will be, but we'd like to get that list out to the community and literally have them rank all these things. So if there's 17 items, they'd rank 1 through 17 or some priority like that. So, so we can get more input than just the group that showed up here today. But I think it's going to really add value to all the discussion you've got. So thanks, Ron, for collecting that, and Maria again, and Kathy for information. Okay. So let's start with this group over here. If there's any new ideas or things you wanted to chat about, and again, we're going to collect all these. And if there's things that you want to write down on your packet, we're going to collect. Marie's going to collect all the packets and all the cards. So if you don't agree with anything Larry says, which is probably most of us, we'll have that collected too.
all right, so I guess this would be the reflection round 2, table 1. We started out by talking about rules enforcement and that the perhaps benefit of the implementation of the process of stages, something like that. And we talked about how trespassing has subsided somewhat, but still needs to be addressed. And then we got into more specifics. Recommendations included perhaps installation of some motion detector lights. So for late at night, we just have more illumination, might deter, especially some of the teenagers, whatnot, using the parks, especially ones who are not residents, and perhaps even a sign that says you are being monitored, regardless of whether the veracity of that statement, just the sign might help. And we really did conclude, and we started to getting into stories about, there's unquestionably one of our greatest assets is our neighbors, our sense of community. The reason why people move into Highland Lake is partially, because it's a beautiful area, but the reason why people stay is because of our neighbors. It's a great place. We just genuinely like each other. There's this wonderful little small town atmosphere that we have within, the Grays Lake, Round Lake area. It's just so nice that we just like each other.
Okay. Table 2, over here. I know you guys picked a reporter at the last minute, so who's got the job? Bob?
I got to tease that we have not a problem. The biggest opportunity we have is communication. You asked, I have weeds in front of my property. Are they good weeds, bad weeds? Who do I talk to? Who can tell me if it's good or bad? Somebody asked, who's my West Shore rep? I don't know. We have one, is it vacant, and so on. I think what we could use to help the communication among the entire group, and in fact it's something I was trying to work on a little bit in the past. Number one, again, we need a new book. We need a new list of names. If we don't do a new book right away, we need to communicate with the community as to who the vice presidents are for each of the shores. We should probably denote who belongs to the West Shore, North Shore, East Shore. I can't tell from this map. If somebody lives on this lot right here, are they a North Circle? Do they talk to the North Circle rep? Do they talk to the North Shore rep? Do they talk to the South Circle rep? So we should probably do a map and divide it into East Shore, North Shore, West Shore, etc. And then, besides having the vice presidents, maybe some specialists. If somebody is a specialist on the milfoil or vegetation, something like that, maybe even put their name down that someone could talk to. Or failing that, if you talk to your shore rep, they would put you in touch with that person. But I think one of the things was, and these questions came up here in the group, who is my rep? What part do I belong to? And we need to get that information out so we can communicate on a daily, weekly basis. Does that cover
I
for you
think
all?
that
what we-
wasn't that in the initial email that they had this year? About who the different shore reps were?
Yeah, there's some information, but I think it's a good point to bring up. Not everybody knows, and there's emails and.
I've been trying for 2 years to get stickers for my books, but I don't live there, so
Okay.
I can't get them, you know.
Yeah.
There's one shore rep.
And again, not only
Larry?
do we have to, should they know who their rep is, but again, which is which? What South Circle, North Circle, et
Bob,
cetera.
isn't that already in there though, on the phone? If you look at your, if you look up your listing.
Not from 2006.
Well, there is that.
There's a new directory online in Fryhands, I think it does.
Yeah,
There's a column for
the shore.
NCC.
Yeah,
just print it off.
I get
but it's easier to have the map.
It's easier to have the
Have a
map.
map and, yeah.
Yeah,
Make it easy to do business with us.
Sounds good. Thanks, Bob. Anything else? That's it. Going once, go ahead. Over here. Oh, Larry? Oh, well, next week.
little bloviation here.
Thanks, Larry. Go ahead. I've been picking on you, I should.
We are.
My feelings are very easily hurt, you know that.
Yeah, that's okay.
We talked about the community involvement, about how it ties together, and pretty much almost all the issues that we're talking about. And we think that involving the younger families, because we really do have a senior community maturing a lot, and there is turnover going on. There's turnover going on. People are leaving us and going on to their rewards and things like such as that. And we felt that getting kids involved a number of different ways. One of the things we talked about was having a little team put together for each of the parks, where because the kids are usually the users of the park more often than adults, other than vandals and trespassers. The kids coming in there first. And about 10 years ago, I did a little thing for the kids at Chick Park. It's called the Chick Park Clean Team. We made a badge for everybody, and we had a little group of kids together. So we want to reinstitute that. And I know we've got a very active group in the Chick Park area, and I highly encourage others to do that. We also talked about the issues of vandalism in the park, which fits in with what you were saying. Talked about the geese, how to get rid of them. And I don't know if we should be issuing bottle rockets to everybody or what.
Just allow hunting on the lake.
Yeah.
I'll help.
They're protected, I called.
We like the
No,
idea of the
they're not.
Good.
We like the idea of the discount for seniors, some type of if someone says they can't pay, send us what you can, that kind of thing. Without having everybody take advantage of that, because right at this point, by the way, the collections from dues are about 3/4 or so of the annual budget in the first month of the year, which indicates that things are clicking. It took us until at least December to get to, at least October, to get to that point last year. So that indicates that the sense of neighborhood is working, that the community is working, and that people are approving of what is happening. They're seeing it start to happen. And it ties to the communication again, which was what Bob was saying. And it's all interwoven. And it's just basically, there's hardly any other thing that we talked about other than that. But the 500-pound gorilla in the room is the weed control. And in a nutshell, Dave Coulter is our expert on that, along with Mike Kalstrup, who continues to do his job on a voluntary basis. And given the issues that we have with electric motors cutting up the milfoil and replanting in effect, and having no winter, as John Sonnenberg can attest, the weeds are starting. And we had been attempting to do spot control, and when Mike and I were talking on Wednesday, we were talking about whack-a-mole, and it's indeed at least on the table whether or not we treat on a whole lake basis this year. Illinois Department of Natural Resources is involved, recommending 7 parts per billion and
Which is dramatically less than
Pardon
what,
me?
which is dramatically less than what
Dramatically
others,
less than
which is a good thing.
And, but we, it's, as stewards of this lake, we feel that this is critical because we don't want the weeds to overtake us again. And so I invite you to come to the next board meeting. We'll probably have more information for you at that point.
I was, started the discussion, and we all got into it, and we had an interesting group because we have one group member that's swam on this lake 50 years ago or so, and can tell us that from that perspective and where we are now. And I'm deeply concerned about the short-term future of Highland Lake because of the milfoil. Yes, the zebra mussels are another problem. Thank God we don't have them yet. And if we get them, I don't know what you do. The milfoil, I do know what to do. And there are two alternatives. One is spot, and the other is full lake. And we're right at the tipping point between whether we go full lake or not. And I think that remains to be seen by a lot of people, including myself, which way we're going to go. The ballpark numbers, just so everybody understands, if we go full lake, we're talking over 10 grand probably. The 7 parts per billion to me would be a maximum number. I'd rather see 6, but these are critical numbers, and these are numbers that will keep us from getting into the problems we've had in the past, where we, through no fault of our own, we got into what we call, in my industry, we call it unintended consequences, and we ended up with a lake that didn't have very much vegetation in it at all, which was very bad for a lot of reasons, except for swimming. It was very bad. Where we want to get to is a balance here, so that we have good fish health, we have good water quality, we have good boating, we have good swimming, we have good everything. And to do that, we need to control milfoil. Eurasian milfoil is our only enemy at this time. Everything else in the lake is either native or it's not a problem. If we do spot treat in 2012, in this year, the secret is you treat early and you treat late. Eurasian milfoil is very much like, below the water, is very much like buckthorn and many of these other things that are above the water that you have in your yards that we all see around, reed canary grass, things like that. All these non-natives, they have one characteristic. They start early and they finish late. So the natives don't. So here's your window. We'll have a window in March or April, or this year, we might have it starting next week. We have a window, look at a 5-year, probably about a 5-year cycle. And then in a 5-year cycle, we have 1 year of full lake and 4 years of spot, then 1 and 4 out into infinity perhaps. And that may cost us $25,000 or so for 5 years. So I'm making these numbers up, but they're reasonably close. If it is $25,000 over 5 years, that's $5 grand a year. So we need to figure out a way to fund that kind of function, and with a blip in it. It's $5,000 a year, but it's 10 and then a bunch of 3s. So that's what we talked about, and that's what we're all anxious at this table to see move forward and to be the #1 topic on the agenda for our association.
Okay. One thing we did that was very interesting. That you want to see what a lake looks like with a milfoil problem, go to Bolo Bog. It's like a carpet.
Bog down.
You can't swim, you can't fish.
Yeah. There's a lot of good examples in the area. Maybe we can compile a list and take some pictures. And we are, because we've been watching it, and we should be
okay.
Yeah, we should be very proud of the work we've done. So,
Dave, Great Lake just started doing sonar a couple years ago, right?
Yeah.
How are they?
I talked to a guy over there recently, but I didn't get, it's inconclusive right now. Well, sonar is the way to go.
Well, maybe work with Mike and have some kind of Eurasian water milfoil conference or something like that, and get all these people together. I mean, we could talk about that too.
All right.
All right, let me do this last.
Just ask a question, does the treasurer have this money?
Well,
We carried 3,000 forward from last year that didn't get used. We have, last month we had roughly $12,000 in the bank, and we have collected about 8,000 so far this year. So we're good, but we have been kind of like saving 5,000 a year for this exact moment. So we're ready, we have the money, we can do it. We'll make a decision at the next board meeting, because if we are going to continue to have spring instead of winter, I am personally in the favor of getting at it, so it doesn't affect the neighbors.
Question, Larry.
oh, okay.
We all pay a lot of taxes. Does the county have any,
They have no jurisdiction for private.
they don't have any responsibility for the lake?
IDNR has oversight, but they have no responsibility.
Again, but that's
We
a
don't
good.
shy away from raising our
We would have done
taxes.
that. But let's, I have one more table to go. We'll finish up with that. But that grant idea is a good idea, because we may be able to find some grants that help fund this too, so.
What is that 2,000 grant up there? Is that something?
That was I didn't know, that was a grant, that was on the sheet,
What'd you
$2,000
get for
grant
grant?
for Haynesville Road project or something.
Oh, probably for
We
the
want to
drainage.
For the drainage.
$1,000 grant from Bill, Illinois in 1992 for the restoration of Hartnett Park.
Okay.
And actually, it was really, quote unquote, a flood.
Right, where's Hartman Park? I don't know where that is.
Hard.
And there's a
It's
problem
where the
with
fence
that.
is.
Yeah, okay.
So where we're going to put
Keep
the
asking
hair
questions, you effectively cut me off.
That's his plan.
Well, we got Hank in 5 minutes. Larry starts talking again, okay, so.
We had several problems. We've got a body shop operating in a garage,
All right, so let's take care of that.
and we need to take care of that.
Yeah.
And I don't know who to
They've
talk to
been
about.
tagged.
Huh? They're back in business, right? We have a lot of kids coming through the farm field over here into the area, into play in the park. Is there any way that we could stop that? As it turns out, apparently, is it the same person? No, that would be different people. We have a road runner running around, a four-wheel vehicle with no license, running on the streets here in town, around the lake. And the same family apparently sent their kids over to spray paint something in the park, South Peg Park. And he confronted the kids and then got read out by their mother. So we need to find somebody who will address that particular problem. The Lakeside Drive is falling apart because of the trucks that are going through there.
Yeah. We've had a lot of trucks through there.
Okay. Well, there was some question about what's going on Washington Street. Are they going to pay for the trees that they cut, that they take down? They are.
It depends on the size and the condition. They will not replace everything, and they'll give you a money amount depending on your tree.
Now, everybody at the table had the same feeling about voters that I had, for some reason. When I was at that trial, the lawyer we had hired, we didn't hire Harry's lawyer. Harry went to school with John Bickley, was a teacher there. And John Bickley says that homeowners association rules are the same as condominium rules. And they should have been applied to this case, not what happened. And when that guy got up and said, voters to 36 volts, our attorney had no idea what 36 volts meant. What he said was 36 volts, figured we'd say 12, and then maybe we'd settle somewhere in the middle. We didn't even bring it up. So, and then we fell apart when we said everybody could, only 3 people were given power to run their voters on this lake according to that judge. The 3 people that sued. One of them's no longer with us. So, and then, but we would turn around and say, anybody can run a motor on the lake. We said that. We should have just said it's illegal to put motors on the lake. We could say 12 boats, but, and if you want to go, it's illegal for the homeowners association to put motors on the lake. But if you do it, you do it against, we're not going to do anything about it, but it's, you know, we don't want you to do it, the rule. We want to say, we don't want you to do it. That's what I think.
Okay, any other conversations, any topics, guys? All right, the different people approach this. Welcome, okay, friendly welcome. There's no motors on the lake. You young people. I loved it. Somebody was calling you a young person. So that was great. So first of all, I want to thank everybody for their time. I think this was a very healthy, lively discussion. As the community is doing great. Hank, I do see your concern with the motors on the lake. I swim. I don't like the concept of a motor going over me. That's, you know, dolphins have that same problem as I have. All right, so what we're going to do is, again, we're going to try to disseminate this out to the community. There was one topic we talked about that hadn't been brought up. I just wanted to get Marie said that parks have like a locked bulletin board covered area, and then have like a newsletter box at each of the parks that people can drive by and grab. Next, we have at the house where you go for a realtor, and you can buy, you know, grab the sheet out of there. Maybe have some information, you know, at the kiosks. So I think that's a great idea. I know. I mean, the bulletin board area, so that, you know, but anyway, it was just comment. All these are good comments. What will happen out of this is this all go back and we'll kind of rehash this, and you know, and again, I think this is great. You know, continue the conversation and we'll move forward. Any last comments from anybody except for Larry? Okay, they're around the table. Feel free to take one home, it's your favorite. And then there's the evaluation sheet. This is really, really important. If you could take a few minutes before you walk away, this sheet is where? The packet? The last sheet of your packet. There's an evaluation sheet. Please. Yes.
Yeah, it's about the zebra mussel.
Oh, zebra mussel. Okay. One more comment. I know I said noon, Larry. Sorry. Give me one more second.
The word is that once they get in the lake, as Dan said again today, there's no way to get rid of them. So I think it's really important that we do establish some kind of procedure for examining boats that are coming into the lake from other places, and that we get it in as soon as possible. So I just wanted to make that my comment.
Good point. Okay. Any last comments? All right. Fill out your feedback sheet. Larry, do you have a comment?
I just want to say thank you, John. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Marie. In case you don't have access to the rules, we have about 10 packets of rules up here, maybe 12. Take them with you. We also have a printout of the fishing limits that you should know if you're going to fish. And please tell everybody that the next meeting will be at Avon Township on the, I think it's the 19th. No, it's the 20th. The 20th of February, and that we'll be making some real serious decisions about what we're going to be doing with the lake. And so you'll want to be there.